Hello there. My name is Niiamah Ashong, and welcome to the Outliers Edge podcast, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity and help them leverage what makes them different to make their difference in the world. Ooh, I like that. That felt kind of smooth on my end. I felt like I'm feeling myself right now. I'm feeling myself. Uh, hey there, Outliers. Niiamah here. Well, honestly, then, welcome to the Outliers Edge podcast. We are going to be spending some time today with someone who I'm really getting to know, and I feel it's like bringing out her outlier in an amazing way. It's Audrey Heesch, and Audrey, I'm just really glad that we get to spend some time together. I love that. If you're listening to this on audio only, she just gave us a nice little peace sign, like a little hello. And so I actually think that would be a great segue for me to like kind of bring myself into this room with you. Audrey, we're still getting to know each other, but are you okay with me sharing like who you've been to me, like the impact you've had on me and what I get about you? You good with that?
Please do. This
Yeah.
is a let's go.
All
Let's
right.
dig it.
Let's play here. So Audrey, let me I know I want to do this, but I never know what I'm gonna say. So just give me a second here to just take you in. Audrey, like what I get about you, at least my the way I've experienced you is like you have a component of you that I want to put in a space of like it's fun, mastery, and excellency, but also just like very approachable. Right. So what I get about you is that like it's like you know what you're about. You know what you're doing. Like you're not one to be like trifled with in terms of like the areas in where you have chosen to become a master or like where you put your domain, you know. That being said, like you're also like there's an openness to you and like a funness. Like I'll use the word quirky and for my own thing, but like it becomes super approachable in a way that I feel like you take tough things on. I think you take on like things that like most people would like want to back away from or shy away from or think like this is overwhelming or I can't do. And you bring a level of both levity, but also like like a maven, like serious mastery to the table that allows like anyone to feel comfortable taking on like taking it on. So that's my experience of you thus far. Um, yeah, that feels really true. That feels really. I have to check it and make sure that I'm like, is this it? And like, yeah, that feels true. So that's who you've been to me so far, Audrey. I'd love to give you a chance to let like the outliers who are listening to this get a chance to get to know you in your own words here. Would you mind sharing a bit about you personally first, and then we'll go into what you do professionally?
First, thank you. That was beautiful, and I appreciate your insight into your experience with me because that helps fuel me into knowing whether or not I'm doing this right. And
Mm,
I think
mm.
that feedback is so helpful to be able to take those next steps and to guide that next path forward. And I'm definitely quirky. I've heard that many times over. And so I revel in that. Like that's my playground. I know that numbers and math and finances are not something that most people feel comfortable with or happy or joyful, and I find immense joy in it. And so I bring that and I'm just like, hey, this lights my soul on fire. How can I bring you to the table? Because this is an essential part of our system. Like our finances, whether we want to deal with them or not, they're essential, especially in entrepreneurship. They are fundamental. And the more you can infuse joy and love and light into that sector, the faster you're able to really empower yourself. And that's what I try my best to infuse people with because I find so much joy in this. Again, like I'm quirky. I love this shit. Like math, numbers, finances. I'm all about it, but it tends to be something that people very much avoid. And I fully recognize that money shame is so heavy and so hard. And there's so many layers that we can't put a cookie cutter solution onto that most of our society does. And it's not about that. It's about seeing the people and figuring out where they're at and taking them where they want to go. I'm grateful that I am that quirky self to where people do feel that safety coming to me. And I value that. I really, really do. And so when you're able to bring people to the table that don't want to come, but they're like, this is part of my business, I have to. And so when you bring them to that table and watch their transformation, it's so rewarding and so beautiful. And my ultimate mission is to get to the point where it's not that painful thing. They get the help where when they're starting, so they don't get to the painful part of our society that the finances eventually bring. So that's a bit about me.
Well, I appreciate that. Like, and I'm excited to get to know more about you. And I really, like you said, like you value yourself. And I know that I get curious about how you incorporate that in the value that you provide for your clients and beyond. Why don't we do this then? Why don't you tell us a bit about you professionally then?
So I run, well, do you want the long version or the short version?
I want the real version, whatever that is.
I love that answer. Okay, so I got started so I have a finance degree, and learning how the stock market worked, I recognized firsthand that I want nothing to do with it. It holds it's only meant for some people, and it's designed that way, and it's very negative space, and I don't wish to be a part of any of that, especially learning how it works. Not for me, but I appreciate that that is a part of our system. I just then pivoted over to accounting and bookkeeping, where I'm like, okay, I still want to deal with money because money has this beautiful power and this energy all in itself. It's just a matter of what us humans do with money dictates what it becomes. And so I want to be part of what it becomes, which isn't the stock market in my perception. So I have this finance degree, and I was like, okay, once I did that, the restaurant I was working for at the time was like, the CFO came and was like, you're getting your finance degree. Once you graduate, come talk to me. And I was like, all right. So I did that, and I went through that with them, and I was part of the bookkeeping, basic data entry. I don't want to make it sound like I was more important than I was. I was just doing basic data entry, like, here are the drops every server and bartender did every night. I balanced it and sent it elsewhere. But it was just, it started building the blocks along with other blocks that I had throughout my pre degree. And it was just that stepping stone, because from there I was then able to, my best friend had had a sister. Her sister was then like, hey, I have this really successful business and it's growing into a second entity along with a third and possibly fourth, but the books aren't together. Taxes aren't being filed. And I want to say that is very, very common. That is one of the most common things I've seen, unfortunately, is that so many entrepreneurs are going, and getting everything together and doing all of the forward facing to get money coming in, because that is important. Cash flow drives all of our business. Cash flow is what drives it. That is the fuel that gets you where you want to go. And so that's what they're focusing on, which is very important, especially starting out. And that tends to mean that their finances and their bookkeeping is the first thing to be set aside and the last thing to be outsourced. And so I just went in, put everything together, built their systems, created accountability, and made it flow in a different way that was more conducive to being tax compliant and compliant within the eyes of the law. Then from there, the CPA was like, what you doing now? And so then I went into the CPA firm, or the accounting firm. And then from there, after I left that, I went into a whole nother sector. I have fought being an entrepreneur tooth and nail. Like, I was like, being in everything I've saw, from small business to being at the accounting firm, business ownership is very hard, very isolating, very lonely, very challenging in a way that is hard to put into words. And because we don't talk about it, we just expect everyone to be able to be like, you need to know how to handle your finances. Handle it well without being taught, without knowing, without having the personal backing to just do it. Let's just know all these things. And that's not logical. Like, that's not logical. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna not be this. I want nothing to do with entrepreneurship. I'm gonna go over here. I went in construction, like I was doing over way out literally.
Wait, hold on. I have to pause really quickly. Um, so you were like, you were so much like, I'm not gonna do entrepreneurship or business here. That I'm gonna go to construction here. Like, because I've heard you say this too. Like you said it earlier with the stock market too. You're like, you know what? I'm just not gonna be that. And you went somewhere and you went to account. I'm like, okay, I see it. Tell me about construction then, because this is it yeah, I enjoyed that it felt unpredictable, and so now I want to like tell me a little bit about the construction part.
So to be fair, I was still working, I was the office manager. So I
Okay.
wasn't completely in construction. It was what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
construction was the industry I was working within. I was still fairly in the playing with paper. I call it playing with paper. I love my receipts. I love my invoices. I love my money. I love handling that. I'm good at that. I'm really good at that. So I was still doing that, but in construction and in a very different way. And with prevailing wage, which y'all, if you don't know about that, that is a whole nother sector craziness. But it's it was just one of those steps where I was like, they pay really well. I will do a fraction of what I'm doing now. I'm getting paid more, and the hours are more normal. Plus, there's a dog in the office, and I'm literally in the woods. I was happy with that. I love critters. I'm definitely an outdoor person. I love the woods. So I was like, I can do this. It's not the grueling expectations of being in the accounting industry. And so that's kind of where I went.
So take us to now then. So what are you doing now? How are things lining up for you? And like, what are you like? What's your mission and how you're bringing that to life?
So great question. So from the accounting firm, and I went into the construction, my clients from the accounting firm found beautifully creative and like heartwarming ways to find me and ask me to personally still work on their accounts while still having my 60-hour-a-week job. Like, oh no, that was about 50 hours to be fair. So it was like 50 hours a week plus nights and weekends to work on their books. And because I love them, like I'm a as much as I'm a critter person, I'm also a people person. If you show your authenticity and your heart and your light, I am here for you. And so when my beautiful light in clients were like, help, I'm gonna track you down to find you when I had no way of finding you and I found ways to find you, then I was like, okay, I guess this is my sign to do the entrepreneurial thing. And that is a trip all in itself. And so I started my bookkeeping business, and sincerely, that's when I fully recognized, well, being at the accounting firm did highlight this. And now that I'm outside of it, I can see it better. But when you're an accounting firm, people just come to you all the time. Like, you don't have to do anything. People just come to you. And so as a bookkeeping firm, I was like, okay, but I did see that there was this disconnect because people would only come to be reactive and not proactive with their finances. And with being in the bookkeeping firm, I was like, okay, bookkeeping is still the first thing to be set aside and the last thing to be outsourced. And I'm still despite my best efforts, there is this reactivity where people are only reaching out when they need 2, 4, 5 years worth of bookkeeping put together to file taxes to get things done. And that's where the Graceful Penny came in, is I want to really help people feel empowered with their finances to tackle it with where they're at, so they're proactive instead of reactive, because it's so much more painful, so much more money. And so many people have told me I am making a bad business decision by doing this, because I do get paid a lot of money to do this and fix things, but there's so much pain in that, and I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the solution to help people come in and feel empowered by their finances. And ultimately my goal is to be obsolete. Like, let's give people the knowledge, because as I give people the knowledge, then my knowledge is going to be able to grow to help them in different, better ways, while not creating that pain point for people. And I don't understand why that's a difficult concept in our society, but it tends to be a very unique, I'll say unique. It's a unique form of our society that we bring in, and I just want something different.
All right, so now let me ask you this then. With Graceful Penny, with the Graceful Penny, are you still doing bookkeeping? Is that like what I'm getting? Let me take my own step back. What I'm getting here is that like you're like I am in a position where I essentially you're coming in after the problem has started and has been going on for a while, and then they're like, get me out of this mess, and you're like, let's creatively do this and make sure that we're capturing all that. And then if I'm hearing you're like, but what if we just didn't get in the mess in the first place? Like how about we just try that? Um, and so with the Graceful Penny, like if it like I'm hearing mindset, I'm hearing various things around that. Like, are you still like tell me like what services and things you offer with the Graceful Penny? I think that will probably help me see this and also help Outliers get it. Because I want to, as you're talking, I like really hearing your journey and then seeing how you're creating something based on all your various skill sets into like what you feel the world needs right now. So I want to make sure I'm getting the sense as to what that is, and then I'm going to ask some more questions if you're good with that.
You're so good at questions. I love your questions. Yes. So I have a couple different offers right now. And for one, I am building a course because I know how much time is a struggle for entrepreneurs. And we're just like going, going, going. I can't make a 10 a.m. every other Tuesday. Like, that's just not something that it takes a lot more effort to bring entrepreneurs to the table with that, when it's not actively driving sales in the moment while they're building. I recognize that. So I'm trying to build a course to really empower them and give them the flexibility with where they're at, and they can tap in when they want. And then from there, I'm also doing a Bloom program where they can work with me one-on-one. First, I fully recognize and fully understand that there are so many people that are still in that position where they do need that help to get their bookkeeping up to date, to figure out where they're currently at, because they just don't know. They're just working the day to day and not looking at their financial picture as a whole. And so I call it a book build, and that's what it's known in the accounting world, is where you have a year's plus worth of bookkeeping and you put it together. Or you don't have books at all and you just piece everything together at year's end. I come in and put it all together so that you can maintain it, so that you have a more full understanding of what your finances are in the current moment. I love that. I am all about that. I love that. The maintenance, I am not a maintenance bookkeeper. That tends to be something, and beautifully so. Many entrepreneurs are like, I can do the maintenance. I am happy to do the maintenance, but setting it up is a beast I don't even understand. And that's valid. That is so valid, because setting a system up takes skill and knowledge that I've worked years, decades, like literally decades on. Like, that's something that I'm just like, yeah, I can set that up in 2 seconds because I've worked in it for so long. But if you don't have that knowledge, it does take easily a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It can take a long time to figure that out on your own. And so I want to kind of balance that between empowering entrepreneurs to be able to do it themselves and giving them the systems to just be able to tackle it themselves moving forward. And so it is that balance, and that's the beautiful part of entrepreneurship is everyone's unique. Everyone's skill set is different to be able to come in and do different things. And I am all about empowering that with where you're at. I'm not good on cookie cutter solutions, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, this is cool for me as I listen here because um yeah, like a couple of different things are coming up. But one of the things I like is like you like I love how you own what you love, right? Like because I think I wanted to give space to like what you do and such, but it also really just sharing the line of like this is what like this is someone who like loves what gets done here, and it's like and it's really good at it and it's built the skill sets for it and it feels and, like people are knocking down your doors and they're sending homing pigeons and like making smoke signals just to get your attention out there. Yeah, I get that. I think it's really phenomenal. One of the things that's actually really interesting to me as we're talking, as I'm listening to talk, is that I remember how I introduced you, and part of the things that I was saying about the saying in the introduction, that realized like in my mind, I was framing it as though um it came off to me as though like, oh yeah, this is what I would say about someone who's like doing like transformational coaching or something like that. I forget how I put it, but it felt to me like it was something in the line of that. But and as we talk, like one of the things that I think is so cool about you is that like you are transforming, like and you have your own way of doing it that is like that still has like what's the mindset? Let's make sure you're getting feeling proactive. You're not feeling afraid of it. You're able to like know that you can do this, so on and so forth. But I think it's just so awesome realistically. I think it is really awesome that like you create your transformations through people's finances and like through the like the business's finances. And like as I hear you talk, it's really fun for me because I'm listening to this and I'm like, I feel like this is something I would be saying about like, leadership or like, getting out in the world. You're like, usually it's the last thing to get done or the first thing to go away or first thing to ignore, last thing to get outsourced. I'm like, I feel like we see transformation very similarly. So I want to put that into this space here. Like, thank you for playing the game of transforming lives and transforming businesses out there. It's really important. I want to acknowledge you on that.
Thank you. And I want to acknowledge you. And thank you for creating this space to really help entrepreneurs understand different aspects of what it means to be an entrepreneur in an unconventional way. And that is, I'm getting goosebumps because that is so important. We have so many cookie cutter solutions, and you're showing people that it doesn't have to be cookie cutter solution. And that is when the power and the magic happens. And so I want to salute you. So thank you for having this platform and bringing me on.
Well, let me like ask you. I appreciate it. Let me make sure I receive that because I was about to like just go like whoop. Let me dodge that real quick. So let me receive that. So like yeah,
Did I dodge too? I want to receive
yeah.
yours too. I'm sorry. Thank
No.
you.
You know, I'm glad you brought that in because it's like because you're gonna see like in this conversation, how do I say it? I like it's something where I'm using the words, I'm listening to my own words as we talk, right? I know I'm using like words like I think it's awesome. I think it's cool. Um, maybe it's my math background, but I also think it's just like there's an approach. I think it's the approachability of it all, right? It's like I get that you really get what you're doing, and you're creating an opportunity for people to feel differently around people talk about like public speaking a lot. I'm like, if I talk to anyone about math, just like simple math, like that like eyes glaze over, like that people are like, it's just and there are like entrenched beliefs about whether they can do it or not, and so on and so forth. So it's cool to hear you in how much like you love what you're doing, how much you get what like like the benefit of what you do and how and the fact that you took it to a place of very, very high echelon like work. 'Cause I think about you outliers that have something that may not be finances or bookkeeping or coaching in one like one realm as everyone else has seen it, but you have something specific to offer. So like let me ask you, Audrey, like as someone who like I mean, you're just doing you, I get that. But for anyone else out there that has like that's passionate and great about the things that they're up to in the world that like yeah, basically who doesn't have a cookie cutter way of like approaching things. Like what do you have to say to them or like what has been one of the most helpful things for you as you continue to build it?
Beautiful question. And I think it's twofold. One, you do you. Like, as long as you're following the friggin' law, you do you. Like, don't let someone shame you or guilt you or push you into something that doesn't feel comfortable or you know within yourself isn't right. They're sorry if you hear my cat in the background howling.
No, you're really good. I like the like technology now makes it like there could be so many things going on, and I would have no clue. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, monster.
Okay.
So yes, you do you. Figure out what your path is. And that is something that I fully understand is that math, to your point, math and numbers are something that make most or a lot of people glaze over. Like, nope, I'm not dealing with that. And I totally understand that. So it's just about finding a system that works with you and for you is so important because when you have that system that works for you and with you, you're still getting the things done that need to be done without either over stressing yourself or overburdening yourself. And I think that kind of plays into the second aspect, which is just delegating. There are things you're not going to be good at. As an entrepreneur, you're expected to do all of the things. And sometimes you have to do all of the things, especially when you're starting out, you do have to wear all the hats. But as soon as you can, delegate. Like, have somebody that's there to be like, okay, I know as an entrepreneur, I need to know my numbers. I am here to read my reports. I know how to do that. That's one thing that's non-negotiable as an entrepreneur. You have to be able to read your reports. It's okay if you don't know how to read them right now. Take today to make that your next step to start learning your reports. And then from there, you need to be able to know, okay, I know I haven't said there's no cookie cutter, but there are two things that I advocate endlessly: knowing your reports and knowing what your break even point is. So many people advocate, like, here's this $20,000 a month, bring this in. But no one talks about the cost that goes into that. Your break even point is where you should start. If you don't know any of your metrics, know your break even point.
Can I ask you like what's like how would you define a break even point? Yeah.
Ooh, I love that question. So if you have all of your books together, it'll be very easy. You can just be like, pull the last 12 months. And the easiest thing you can say is, here's all my expenses for the past 12 months. Like add those up and divide it by 12. That way you get a full range because some subscriptions you only pay once a year, but that still needs to be kind of broken out throughout the year. And that's why the 12 months is the best because there's cyclical industries, everything goes up and down. So if you can make that break even point, you're making sure you're covered for the entire year. Um, that's the easiest generalist way. Again, every industry is different. Every entrepreneur and business is going to be very different. So how they look at their break even point is different. But
So I even appreciate like I'm gonna take this even another step up here from what I'm getting. So the break even point here is like the point in the business where it's like if you like your expenses meet your revenue, like how much do you need to make in order to just like stay in the game? Is that what the break even point is, or to at least not lose any money at the end of the year? Like what like how would you do that if someone was sitting there like, all right, Audrey got me. I'm gonna get started on this here. All right. What is the actual objective of knowing of the break even point? What is that?
Objective is keeping your lights on, keeping you moving forward. So your break even point is just all of your expenses that you have to cover in order to break even. So
Yeah.
you know, like if your break even point, so let me just hold my, I always have sticky notes right in front of me at all times for both my businesses and my personal. I know this is the amount of money I need to bring in every month to be able to not have to worry about anything. Everything above that is not necessarily play money, but that's when I get to play, is be like, okay, now that I met my lights are coming on. I'm able to pay all my bills, all my subscriptions are taken care of. Everything that I currently am spending is taken care of. And it is really scary for people who aren't doing that right now, like putting their books together to know what their expenses are, because then they see possibly what they might be overspending on, and it can be very enlightening. And I just want to say that most people avoid that, but it is empowering once you know.
Mm.
Once you know, you can then take the action to change that. And if you don't change it, that's also okay. Just know that that's a choice. And that choice is absolutely okay as long as you're making it from a well-informed position.
I appreciate that. I think that this year is um it's a good place for us to go and start bringing the conversation to a close here. I think that a there's a ton in what you're saying, and especially that element of like moving into the proactive, like proactively doing this. It's cool. Like again, I'm using the word cool, so I'm cat. I pay attention to what I say. So, but it is cool. I think that's the reality. Like I love hanging out with people who like love who like are passionate about something. It's like deeply cool to me, you know. And so what was I going to say? The coolness in this part, which is that again, it still feels really approachable, right? Like look, you're good at what you do, and if I when I get to you, it's like there's certain parts here where I can it's doable. But one of the gifts that you bring to people is that you take them out of like the despair, you take them out of like the fear, you take them out of you do that. And if I get you right, you're like, I've been doing that when it's like an inferno of fear. And instead, like here, like we have like a small campfire. You don't know what like let me go and help you tame that so that like everything's good. So let's do this here. We'll end here with I think three questions to wrap up for today. The first one is like I call it your outsights. So if there's what's an insight is something that you've learned through the conversation, and outside is something that you like for others to learn. So why don't you share? Why don't we do this? Why don't you share one insight, something you learned about yourself through this conversation, and one outsight, something that you want to make sure that other people walk away with. You can choose either order of it.
What I really want your listeners, your beautiful audience member to walk away with is it's okay to know wherever you're at. What matters what your next step is. Like your finances are a beast, and the whole system is convoluted and crazy and complicated and not set up for logic. And so it's okay if it doesn't make sense. You just have to take that next step forward to empower yourself to be able to get to a place where it does make sense. And that is really important because y'all, I don't want like our tax system in America, bad shit crazy. I don't know if I can swear on here, but bad shit crazy. Like it's not, it doesn't make sense. But once you learn what you have to know within the law, then you're able to make the moves you need to do. It's just a matter of making sure you're within the confines of the law to then be able to make those player moves.
I love that. One of a friend of mine, she got a PhD in creativity, and she says creativity thrives with constraints. You know, and like there's something about that where it's like, look, there's a lot that you can do once you actually know like where the boundaries are, and then just play as be as creative as you need to make to just make it work within those confines.
That is beautiful because that really helps me because that's really what I feel like I do. So thank you because I'm like my as entrepreneurs, you're beautifully creative. You are
Yeah.
out
Actually,
here.
do me a favor. In this case, Audrey, bring it to you. Stay with you on this one. So, as you as the entrepreneur, you are beautifully creative. Tell us more.
Oh, I try very hard to be creative. It's not always my forte. I don't know.
I I'm not talking like painting creative. I'm saying the things that you might be able to do with numbers and such. But go ahead. Take keep let's keep playing with this here because I do see you as creative and like I know you may try and like play that one away. But that one's not going because I'm hearing you. You've been saying it over and all. You're like as long as it's within like confines of the law, like as long as you're not breaking the law, hey, it's like do whatever is necessary as long as it's like within the law. Like and then you start like I imagine you playing. I imagine you being like, here goes where the rules are. These are the rules of the game. You go play basketball. Do not like, I threw the ball up into the air and it hit me on the head, so I get 50 points, you know? Like, it's not within the rules of the game, you know? Like, if you want to win, play basketball, you know? And then be the best at those rules, you know? I don't know. So I see you playing like in that same kind of context.
So I think that's where I was attempting to possibly go, and I wasn't giving myself enough credit. So thank you for that. I I tell my entrepreneurs, here is what we need. Like, this is your situation. This is
Mm.
your parameters. This is just factually what is. And then they come back with all these beautiful creativeness. And this is why I have my tree. Like I sit here being like, here's your base. This is your base. What creativity can you sprout from that? And then they come back with all these beautiful ideas that I couldn't even comprehend coming up with. And that's just because that's just their nature is to come up with creative solutions within the confines of what's happening. And then I get to take what they have and be like, okay, well, let's rein this back because of XYZ that we hadn't talked about within these confines because I didn't even comprehend that possibility. But you brought this creative solution. That is a brilliant idea. Let's make this work for you based on here's my directions. Like here are the situations, here's your current, I don't know, here's how much you're paying on your credit cards, this is the solution, that sort of thing.
Well, I appreciate that. Audrey, if anyone wants to stay in your world, wants to work with you, learn from you, continue to be empowered by you, what's the best way for them to go and do that?
You can follow me on Instagram at Graceful Penny, or send me an email, Audrey, Audrey at thegracefulpenny.com. I love chatting with people. Send me a question. If I don't know the answer, I will happily direct you with where you need to go. That tends to be something that's really complicated for entrepreneurs is knowing where to go with their question or even understanding their question. So I get a lot of I have this kind of situation. Like, I don't even know. What do I do with this? And then I'm like, okay, well, what information? I pull that out and then I say, this is where you need to go. I'm not saying I'm the only resource. I have beautiful, incredible, amazing other financial resources that might fit better for you. And I'm here to just connect you with what works for you. And so that's the goal.
Awesome. And then we'll end off here with what I call the time capsule question. And the question I have for you is this: knowing what you know right now, right? All the experience that you have right now, what's the message that you would leave with your future self if you needed to come back in 15, 20 years and be reminded of something that is like core or very evident to you right now that may not be as obvious later on?
So currently on my other screen, I have two screens. I have the one that I have your lovely face on, and then my other screen, I love it. My other screen is just like a mural of Einstein with a picture of love is the answer. And I think as you get into entrepreneurship, finding the empathy and the compassion for the human experience gets more and more challenging and more difficult. And I think we're seeing that on a scale we've yet to comprehend in our society. And so the more we can infuse love, compassion, and just the human experience and not just the numbers, that will take us so much further, because yes, the numbers matter, but you use your numbers for a catalyst for what you want to do, not so much the end all be all. And it's a balancing act that I have yet to put perfectly into words, but just genuinely seeing people with where they're at and taking them to where they want to go without an ulterior motive besides just being a good person in our society. I don't know why that's controversial, but it is, and that's my point.
Well, Audrey, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. There's things that you said here that like actually hit on like some of the questions that I was trying to answer for myself and so forth. So I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for bringing your expertise. Thank you for bringing your experience to the table. And thank you for bringing your energy, your passion, and just all of you to this conversation. I appreciate you, and I look forward to what comes next. All right.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I am so grateful to be here and to talk to your wonderful audience. And I'm excited for keep me updated with all the cool things that you have going on, because I'm excited.
Sounds good to me too. All right. Journey on.